Hello and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. I am so glad you're here. You guys, I was convinced that I wasn't done with Sister Wives, but the show is over, so I wasn't really sure how much I would be talking about the show anymore. But it appears, thanks to the Brown children, I'm not done yet. I'm sure you have all already watched or at least heard about the John Yates video with Peyton Brown, where they live streamed for 3 hours. So this was the first time I've ever heard of John Yates. He's actually never been recommended to me, like in the YouTube algorithm. I feel like I've missed out on some pretty cool videos, so I might have to go back and watch some of his. But as a typical rule, I won't watch videos that are directly related to something I'm going to talk about. So if there's a commentary channel that does like Sister Wives, I won't watch the videos about Sister Wives. I may watch what they say about other shows, but I'll avoid the things I'm going to talk about. However, this one is really special. Getting to watch a YouTuber do a live interview with one of the Brown children is something I couldn't miss. That's completely different. That's an interview, not actually just commentary. So I actually watched the whole thing. I just split it up a little bit. I had to come back and watch the rest of it later, but I did end up watching the whole 3 hours. You guys, I feel like it was the tell-all we were wanting the last few weeks. We got the answers to some of the questions we were, we wanted the answers. And Suki wasn't even asking the questions, but it felt like we finally got some of the answers in this interview between John Yates and Peyton Brown. Now, I definitely found some of the stuff really interesting, but I have to get one thought out there. The whole time I was watching this, all I kept thinking about was the times during the interview, because I feel like he said it more than once. Paedon wants to continue to have a relationship with his dad. He wants his dad back. And the whole time he was talking, all I kept thinking was, Paedon, I don't know if it's going to happen after this. Cody is not always very forgiving. At least he doesn't come off that way to me. Maybe I'm completely wrong. He's not forgiving right now. Paedon is just really letting it all out there. He is very chatty, and I feel like he is one of those people that may say more than he wants to, and because he does it live, there's really no taking it back. Gwendolyn, she records herself and then gives herself time to think about whether or not she wants to put it out there. She did commentary about season 17, I believe it was episode 1, and she was going to post it on Patreon, and she actually said, I don't feel like I should, make this public. I said things that I might regret. So she held back. Paedon does this stuff on lives and there's no taking it back. So I do get a little bit worried that one day he's going to regret some of the stuff that he said, even though it's the truth. The truth doesn't always have to be public. If you don't want it to be, you can have your truth and keep it to yourself, or keep it to a small group of people. And I wonder in the long run how he's going to feel about some of the lives that he has done where he's talked about his family. There was plenty during the interview that was interesting. If you haven't watched it yet, I would totally recommend doing it. I know 3 hours is a long time. So, if you're like me, I kind of had to split it up, but I definitely sat through the whole thing. And he intertwines some stuff about himself as well as some stuff about the family. Okay, and I want to know what you guys think about this. You have all of the Brown kids. So if you think about like Gwendolyn and Paedon and Savannah and Garrison and Gabe, I feel like Cody's personality combined with Christine made these like super outgoing, talkative, chatty kids, where I feel less of that when I'm watching, Janelle's and Cody's children. Like, their personalities are so different. And you look at Gwendolyn and Paedon are being so public about everything. They're going online. Gwendolyn is making money with this, which is fine. If Cody Brown can put his family on TV when they're kids and make money from it, I am all about them going out there publicly and making their livelihood, if they can, from it as well. Cody decided to do this. There's a consequence. So I'm fine with them talking about what their childhoods were like. I'm okay with it. But I just think it's interesting because it really shows their different personalities. And when you're listening to Paedon talk, I think it's easy to see Cody's personality in Paedon. Do you guys agree with that though? I wonder if I'm just picking up on something that's not there. There's this real confidence. It's almost going into like an arrogance. I don't know, maybe that's not a nice way of saying it. It's like overly confident, but he's really chatty. And I just worry in the long run, he's going to say something publicly later on, he has to go and take back or apologize for. There is so much to talk about from this interview. There were parts of it that I feel like when the Brown kids are talking publicly, most of the time they confirm what viewers think, which surprises me because so often when you watch reality TV, later on the stars of the reality TV shows will come forward and say, should I say stars? The cast, the people, the people in the shows will come out and say, it wasn't what it seemed. It wasn't the way you thought. It was so scripted. But when you have the Brown kids come forward, they're like, that's really what it was like. Or you didn't even see all of it. It was way worse. I feel like the Brown kids confirm what viewers suspect when we watch the show. There is plenty of interesting stuff during the live between John Yates and Paedon, and he has some other guests there, but because I'm new to John Yates' channel, I don't know who the other guests were. I'm going to assume they were fans of the show because they had questions. But during the interview, John Yates brought up something I found really funny, and that was the water there at Coyote Pass. If you have listened to my commentary here for a while, you may recall that I have an issue with that water at Coyote Pass, and I don't understand why all of the wives are turning it into such a big deal, or they used to. There is actually an episode where Janelle and Mary have a talk because Janelle is worried about Mary living by the water and blocking everyone's access to it. And I know Mary has a history of that. It's clear that Mary can be a very grumpy lady. So it's, I understand Janelle having concerns about Mary, but my issue is more, is the water that big of a deal? Is the water something they're all going to, disagree about and Cody's going to turn into a big deal? When to me, it doesn't look very big. It doesn't look very deep. And it's definitely murky looking, very muddy looking water. And they're turning it into such a big thing. So John Yates brings that up, and I just appreciated that it was finally brought up with someone within the Brown family. I also appreciated that someone talked about the nanny more in depth. Christine asked that question. She said, what does the nanny do? But we found out Christine was actually more referring to what does the nanny do to be allowed to go into Robin's home. But for most of the viewers, I was like, really, what does the nanny do? Really, what does she do all day? Because there are a lot of adults within that home. There are 4 adults. Almost 5. Saul and Ari are the only kids that are little in that household. So why would you need a nanny? And Peyton talked about it. Peyton said it didn't make sense either. They've had a nanny even though Cody spends most of his time there, and it doesn't make sense that she needs one. Even though that doesn't really have anything to do with their relationships, I would have appreciated Suki asking a question about that. Just because viewers want to know, like, why do you really have a nanny? Because Christine could watch all the kids. Why can't Robin watch her own too? It doesn't make sense. I would have liked Robin to have had to answer that question. There is a part about, I have it down as about an hour and 40 minutes into it, where Paedon said he would be okay with his dad taking another wife if the wife was young, maybe in her early 20s, because then it would be proof that Robin was just the favorite because she was the youngest. Absolutely agree with him. Now, I don't want him to get a new wife, guys. I don't want anyone to be dragged in to Cody's world. That would also keep the show going, and I would definitely be hate watching at that point. Anyone who's getting dragged into Cody's world no, don't televise that. That's awful. But if he's going to do it, I do want it to be someone younger because I think it's going to prove that Robin was the favorite because she was the newest and the youngest, which is something I have always felt. Cody hadn't had a new wife in 16 years. All of a sudden, there's someone new and younger than the other wives. So I think that's what it was. And I think it'd be interesting to see if Robin was still his soulmate when he had someone new come along. There was a part of this, though, where I felt like when Paedon was talking, it was clear that maybe some of his perception of what happened was because of his age and his role in the family, being a child. He talked about Mary and the catfishing and how, no one cared that much. Like, no one cared as much as they seemed to care on the show. So the show was emphasizing it, and it wasn't really that big of a deal. I'm sure in their day-to-day life they weren't talking about it all the time, but you can't tell me that it didn't have an impact on their family. Even if Janelle and Christine and Robin went on just fine, you can't tell me it didn't impact them to have that happen. It happened publicly. It was a big deal. It might have not seemed that big to the kids, but it might have been because they were trying to avoid talking about it much in front of the children. I wouldn't want to go talk to my kids about something like that. I'd be trying to get them away from it. So I wondered if Paedon's perception of it not being a big deal wasn't just because he was one of the children in the family and not one of the spouses. If you're wondering how I'm deciding to talk about what I'm talking about, you should know I'm just doing it in whatever order I want. I have all this stuff down in notes, and I'm just looking at the stuff that I found really interesting and bringing it up. So yeah, there's no order. But one of the things that really stood out, and has been all over the internet, I see it on the thumbnails, is that Paedon sort of accuses Mary of something. He doesn't get specific, but he says it was bad enough that it would have ended the show. It's clear that, it had something to probably do with discipline, though he doesn't tell us enough. I feel like it didn't really have enough to go in any direction with it. We can just sort of guess. I do hope Paedon's careful with what he says, because, you can get in trouble if you're not careful about the things you say people do. So I hope he is mindful of that. But Paedon makes it clear Mary wasn't very nice, and that when Robin came in, she saw it and put an end to it. So I want to tell you guys what I think, and I hope I explain this well, but after you hear me, let me know if you agree, or let me know what you think happened. Paedon implies that Robin put it into whatever Mary was doing when it came to the kids. My theory is, because he didn't give us a lot of specifics, is that Robin didn't deliberately come in and change anything. It just happened. Mary was the odd one out at this point. She had a history with Janelle that wasn't good. She at this point had a history with Christine that wasn't good. During the one-on-ones for season 17, Cody, Janelle, and Christine make it very clear that it was difficult to live with Mary. It sounds like Mary was controlling. We also know that Mary has, issues with infertility. I think watching the new wives come in and have children was difficult for Mary. So I think there was a lot going on. I think a little bit of it was her own personality. I think some of it was just stuff that happened as Christine and Janelle entered the family, and with her relationship with Cody. So I think there was a lot there. I think Mary sounds like a difficult person to live with. So I wonder if she wasn't angry, sad, going through stuff, temperamental, and taking it out on the kids. And I'm not here to stick up for her because he didn't even give specifics, so I don't really know what she did. But if it was really bad, she shouldn't have done it. But as far as Robin bringing it into it, I wonder if it just didn't happen sort of naturally, because suddenly Robin comes in to the family and Mary has an ally. She's not the odd one out anymore. She doesn't have a history with Robin. They get along. Robin hasn't had children with Cody yet at this point, so she's not had to watch that. So suddenly Mary's got a friend, and now Mary's not as angry as she was before. And Cody likes having a new, younger wife. And Mary was the wife that brought Robin to him. So I wonder if Mary just didn't become happier. If she didn't feel like things in the family changed for her, and so suddenly she wasn't as angry as she was before. Because Cody says Robin put an end to it. That I don't think anything like that has ever been discussed at all on the show. And it's just hard for me to imagine Robin coming in and addressing Mary doing something and her and Mary remaining friends the way they were and getting along as well as they do and did in the beginning. I don't know, if something feels a little weird about it, but let me know what you guys think. Like, what do you think Paedon is saying, and what do you think went down with Robin and Mary in the beginning? And the last thing I want to talk about, my list is so long I could go on, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop after this. The last thing I want to talk about is the part where they address the issue of Cody saying that respect is more important than love. And then you can tell it just kind of goes left. Like it just takes a turn, because we find out that there are times that Peyton agrees. Like, there are times that he thinks that it's true. You want respect more than you're worried about love. And it's like, okay, get back on the right course. Come on, Paedon. Don't do it. Don't start going with your dad in this direction. And I wondered what you guys thought about that. Yeah, I was hoping they could pull him back because I could see him going in Cody's direction. And I think there are times with Paedon where we just get that glimpse of Cody. So, and I don't know if I see it in any of the other kids, but the other kids are so private. I have not seen a lot of any of Janelle's children. I think it would be completely different if Garrison and Gabriel did lives about their dad. I think it would be much more, it would be sad. So Paedon, he is chatty and just a storyteller. So I just hope he's careful about what he tells. Let me know how you guys felt about it. Let me know what you think. I might do another one of these. I don't know. My list of things about it was long, but if you haven't watched it yet, you should definitely go watch it. I'm going to put a link down in my description. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click like and subscribe. Come back to Happily Ever Reality to hear more about your favorite reality TV shows.